Hi all, here we are going to discuss about the third chapter of class 12 biology, that's actually the human reproduction. We have already learned about the reproduction in organisms in the first chapter, right? So here we are exclusively focusing on the human reproduction, right? It's a very important chapter in the sense of academics and also very important for your common awareness also in this particularly in this age, right? So here we in this chapter we are going to discuss about the detail of that male and female reproductive system and the procedure, right, of gamete production, that's the gametogenesis, and how the gamete fusion is occurring, right? So for that's called the fertilization, and also the post fertilization events in detail, right? So here, before going to that, what do you mean by reproduction? That is a must, you have to know that. We have already discussed reproduction is the production of young ones by an organism of their own kinds, right? And here we know that human beings are exclusively sexually reproducing organism, and they are viviparous also. That means they are actually giving birth to their young ones and they are feeding their young ones, right? So sexual reproduction, obviously there will be a male organism and a female organism, right? So here first we have to understand that the male reproductive system in detail and the female reproductive system in detail, then only we can understand the procedures of gamete production and all other procedures continuously, right? So first we will discuss about the male reproductive system. Male reproductive system, as you all know, it has a primary sex organ will be there for the male reproductive system. The primary organ here for that reproduction, that's actually the pair of testes will be there. That means which will be two testes will be there, right? So that we are telling a pair of testes will be there, and there will be accessory ducts which is actually supporting this testis. What do you mean by accessory ducts? Which is actually helping. You can see it here, the testis, inside the testis the sperm production will be there, which is a male gamete, sperm, right? So for the sperm production, that is purely responsible by the testis, and now the sperm has to travel to that external genitalia, then only the copulation and all other procedures will be there. So for that supportive ducts are there through which the sperm transport is taking place. That's actually the accessory ducts. We can divide them in different category. That's actually there will be rete testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis, and last vas deferens. These all are the accessory ducts which is actually helping for the transfer of sperm, right? And there will be some accessory glands which is actually secreting some secretions or the hormones, or which is actually nourishing that sperm and also helping for the easy movement, right? So that's actually the prostate gland. From prostate gland there will be some secretions will be there. There will be seminal vesicles will be there, and also the Copper's gland or the bulbourethral gland is there, which is also secreting some secretions or the hormones which is actually helping for the sperm for their easy movement and nourishment, right? And at last there will be the external genitalia, that's actually the penis in the case of male, which is also a part of male reproductive system, which is a copulatory organ here. So one by one we will go in detail. First we will go for the primary sex organ, primary reproductive organ, which is the testis, right? So primary sex organs which is actually producing the sperm, which is the male gamete, and also the male sex hormone which is called testosterone. These two are produced inside a testis, right? So that's the thing, the testis is the primary reproductive organ. That's why it is considered as the primary reproductive organ, right? So testis actually which is formed inside our abdomen itself, but once the male baby, right, so soon after the birth or just after the birth, after the pregnancy, 8th month of pregnancy, that will be descended into the scrotal sac, right? Either it will be soon after the birth of the male boy or the baby, or it may be happen at the 8th month of pregnancy also, right? It will slowly descended through the scrotal sac. Here you can see that this is actually produced inside the abdomen itself, right? Then after soon after the birth or at the time of 8th month, after the 8th month of pregnancy, it will the testis will be descent into the scrotal sac, which is situated just below the abdomen, right? Or singularly you can say that the scrotum through the inguinal canal, right? So actually why it is moving to the scrotal sac? Because for the sperm production and the maturation, right, it needed slightly lower temperature than our body temperature. For example, about 2 to 2 degrees Celsius less than our body temperature. What is the normal body temperature of our body? That's actually 37 degrees Celsius. So for the production and maturation and also for the proper functioning of that sperm, right, or the testis, right, so it need a lower temperature. That's why it is situated inside the scrotal sac. Here you can see that the lower temperature, right, of scrotum helps for proper functioning of testis and for spermatogenesis. What do you mean by spermatogenesis? Spermatogenesis means the production of sperm. Spermatogenesis. Genesis means production. Spermatogenesis means the production of sperm. So this lower temperature will help that organism, help that testis to produce sperms and also their maturation and their proper functioning. I hope it is clear. Right. Now we are going in detail, the sectional view of the testis and all the parts in detail. So for that I will show you this picture in clear. Wait, right. So here if we are going to discuss about the structure of the testis is in oval shape. Here you can see that, which is an oval shape, right. Maximum it will be 4 to 5 centimeter in length and 2 to 3 centimeter in width, right. So actually singularly if you are telling, that is testis, and plural then testis, right. So which is actually 250 testicular lobules will be there. So that how can you understand? If you're going for the section of the testis, this will be that structure, right. So here you can see that these all, right. So one by one, this one is one lobule, this one is the second, third, fourth, like that. So there will be 250, right, minimum, right, about, we are not telling accurately, about there will be 250 testicular lobules inside a testis, right. So and actually these each lobule will contain 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubule. That means if you are taking this one, this is one testicular lobule, inside you can see that there will be highly coiled structure, tubules are there, which is called a seminiferous tubule. Inside this seminiferous tubule, there are two types of cells are lined, and inside that there will be spermatogonia cells will be there, which is actually responsible for the production of sperms. That's we are going in detail next. Yes. Here you can see that the seminiferous tubule, which is lined internally, right, by a spermatogenic cells. Right, the spermatogenic cells we can otherwise known it as, right, spermatogonia or male germ cells, right. So how it is that we are taking this seminiferous tubule separately. If you are taking the section of the seminiferous tubule, this will be the diagrammatic view of that. So this is the seminiferous tubule. Inside that seminiferous tubule there will be two layer lining will be there. There will be two type of cells in that lining. One is that spermatogonium, singularly spermatogonium, or plural spermatogonia, or we can say that they are the male germ cells, right. So which is actually responsible for the production of sperm. And for the nourishment or providing nutrition to this spermatogonium, the spermatogenic cells. Spermatogenic means sperm produce, genesis production, cell scale, right. So the nutrition is provided by another type of cells which is called Sertoli cells. All other structure, all other detail we will discuss in later. So now you have to understand only these things, right. So seminiferous tubule, inside the testicular lobule 1 to 3 seminiferous tubule is there. Each seminiferous tubule is lined by internally, not externally, internally by some type of cells. There are two type of cell will be there. That's actually spermatogonia and Sertoli cells. That means totally spermatogenic cells we can say that. That's actually spermatogonia or the male germ cell which is responsible for the production of sperms, and also there are some supportive cells that's called Sertoli cells which is actually providing nourishment for the spermatogonia. So here you can see that this is the seminiferous tubule, internally it lined, right, and inside that lining there will be two type of cells there. One is the spermatogenic cells or spermatogonia or male germ cells. Three names are for the one single cell itself, and another cell is there which is the Sertoli cell also. These are the two type of cells which you can find in the inner lining of the seminiferous tubule, right? So what is the function of seminiferous tubule? We can say that this spermatogonia, which is actually producing the sperms, right? And the Sertoli cells are there, which will give shape and nourishment to the developing spermatogonia, right? So that means the sperm, which is primary spermatocyte is there. That all we will discuss in the spermatogenesis. Sperm production we have to learn separately. That time I will discuss that in detail. Now you have to understand only these things, right? This is the seminiferous tubule, which is lined internally, and they have two cells are there, two type of cells are there present inside. One is the spermatogonia and the other one is the Sertoli cells. Now here, this is the sectional microscopic view of a testis, right? So this one you are seeing here, this is one seminiferous tubule, this is the second one, this is the third one, like that. 1 to 3 that will be present, right? More than also it will be there, that's nothing. And here you are seeing, this is the interstitial site. That means in between the two seminiferous tubule or three seminiferous tubule, there will be some spaces will be there, which is called the interstitial site or interstitial space, right? And there also some type of cells are present. There will be some blood vessels will be there. You can see that some type of immunologically competent cells will be there, which is actually providing the immunity. And there is another important cell is there, which is called the interstitial cell or the Leydig cell. Right. So these Leydig cell will secrete a special type of hormone, which is actually called the testicular hormone or the androgen. What is the function we will learn later. But now we have to understand that this interstitial, inside that lining we already told that there are two type of cells. What are they? One is the spermatogonia, right? And the other one is that Sertoli cells inside this lining. That's enlarged view is there. Outside the internal interstitial space is there. In that there is a type of cell which is called interstitial cells or Leydig cells, right? Which is actually responsible for the secretion of testicular hormone and otherwise known as the androgen. I hope it is clear now. Now we have finished the primary sex organ, right? Now we are going to discuss about what are the accessory ducts, right, which is supporting this, right? So accessory ducts are actually now inside the spermatogonia, the sperm production take place. The sperm has to come out, right, and it has to reach in the penis region. Then only the copulation will take place. That must be transferred into the female genitalia. Then only the fertilization will further take place. So how the transfer is occurring, right? So here you can see that this is the seminiferous tubule. Inside the spermatogonia is there. Inside that the sperm is producing, right? So from each seminiferous tubule, right, that will lead to a common area which is actually a irregular cavities which look like irregular cavity. That's called a retate testis. So we can simply say that the sperms which is produced inside the seminiferous tubule, which will be taken by the retate testis, which is an irregular cavity like structure, and this will lead to a fine tubule like structure which is called vasa efferentia. This is the fine tubule-like structure. These vasa efferentia will join together to form a somewhat larger tubule, which is called the epididymis. Right. So this is the total area we had named it as epididymis. So we can divide it into epididymis head, right, the body of that epididymis and the tail of the epididymis. It is actually somewhat larger tubule considered to that compared to that vasa efferentia. They are fine tubules, series of fine tubule. So the sperm produced by the seminiferous tubule will taken by the retate testis, and it will lead to the fine tubule-like structure which is called vasa efferentia, which will again join to form the epididymis, which will lead to the outside. That section is called vas deferens, through which it will lead to the external genitalia. Right. So what are the parts if it is clear? Right. So there is a retate testis, which is an irregular cavity from it's actually the area, right, where the sperms are collecting. Right. So the retate testis will lead to that vasa efferentia. Then it will lead to the epididymis, where we can temporarily store that sperm for some time. Right. And after that, whenever that ejaculation will be there, the sperm will be taken by the vas deferens and it will be ejaculated. So So here you can see that the vas deferens, which will join to the duct of seminal vesicle to form the common ejaculatory duct, that we will discuss next. Here in this picture you can see that how the conduction of sperms through the accessory ducts take place. That means how the transport of sperm is taking place. We already told that the sperm is produced inside the seminiferous tubule, right? So here this is the seminiferous tubule. Inside the sperm production will take place, which will be taken to the rete testis, and from there it will be gone to the vasa efferentia. From vasa efferentia that will go to the epididymis. From epididymis that will be taken by vas deferens. Vas deferens will join to a common ejaculatory duct will be there. Why we are telling common ejaculatory duct? That's actually a common duct for the urine passage and also the for the ejection of sperm also, right? So the common ejaculatory duct will lead to the urethra, right? And that will be again lead to the urethral meatus. What is the structure? We will go through that. Here you can see that this is the inside the scrotal sac. You can see the testis. Testis, this is the epididymal part, and that will be, this is the vas deferens area, right? This vas deferens will taken that sperm into a common ejaculatory duct, where there will be a joining of seminal vesicle, which is the accessory gland. A pair of seminal vesicle will be there, and now it become a common ejaculatory duct, right? And there is a single prostate gland is there, and after that there will be a pair of bulbourethral gland also. These are the three glands, accessory glands present in the male reproductive system. Now it will be that a common passage for that sperms and also for the urine will be there, right? So this is the urethra part. Now here in male, there is that urethra is actually situated inside the muscular area, that's the penis, and at last it will end into the somewhat broader portion, that's called the urethral meatus, right? So we will go in detail of all these things. So here you can see that the urethra will receive the ducts of prostate gland, Cowper's gland or bulbourethral gland, and that passes through the penis. How it is taking place, that we are going to discuss next, right? So what are the accessory glands? That also you have to understand here. The accessory glands mainly include a pair of seminal vesicle will be there. So this is the part, the pair of seminal vesicle, right? And after that there will be a prostate gland, a single, not in pair, right? And after that there will be a pair of Cowper's gland. Cowper's gland, otherwise known as the bulbourethral gland also. These three glands are actually collectively secreting some secretions. We can say them as seminal plasma, right? So actually which is helping, which is very much helping for the nutrition, right? Nourishing the sperm, and also there will be some lubricants also, right? So this seminal plasma actually will be rich in fructose, calcium ions, and some enzymes will be there. Along with that, the seminal plasma and the sperm, then we can name it as the semen. So the sperm will come from here, the testis, and it will reach in this area, from where that gland secretions will come. Now after finishing this gland secretion, that's the seminal plasma, along with the sperm we can name it as a semen, right? And which will be ejaculated through the penis, right? Urethra, and which is the penis, right? So now we have to understand what is the function of seminal plasma, right? Actually the main functions we can tell that it is the transport, it will help for the transport of that sperms. That's actually easy transport. There will be, it will act as a lubricant, right? And also it is supplying nutrients, the nourishment to the sperms, right? So and there is it is actually slightly alkaline, right? There will, if any that urethral area or the urine, if any acidity is there, so this seminal plasma will be slightly alkaline in nature, so that will be neutralized. Otherwise the sperm will die, right? Because the urine nature somewhat alkaline in nature, acidic in nature. So sometimes if any problems happening in our body, that will change the acidic or alkaline nature of that urine. So it will cause disturbance for that sperm. There is a chance of destruction of the sperm. So this seminal plasma, which is alkaline nature, so it will counteract to the acidity of that ureter that we are telling inside our female uterus. There will be acidic nature will be there, so that also will be neutralized by the seminal plasma, right? And you can see that there is another secretion which is coming from the Cowper's gland, exclusively from the Cowper's gland or the bulbourethral gland, which is actually lubricating the penis area, so that the easy movement of that insertion of the penis will take place into the female genitalia, right? So here, along with this, the secretion of the epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicle, and the prostate will help that sperms for their easy maturation and the motility, right? So there will be some secretion from the epididymis and also from the vas deferens, and along with that there will be secretions from seminal vesicle, prostate gland, and also from the bulbourethral gland, Cowper's gland. These all actually helping, right, the maturation and mobility, right? Especially bulbourethral gland, if you are telling, that's actually lubricating the penis, so that the easy insertion of the penis will take place, right? Now, the external genitia of a male, right, which is called the penis or penis, we can say that. We can name it as it's a copulatory organ which is actually helping for the sexual intercourse, right? So it's actually made up of a special erectile spongy tissue. We can say that it's a muscular erectile spongy tissue is there. What is actually this? When the spongy tissue is filled with the blood, then the penis will become erect, and it will actually help for that, it will facilitate, or it will help the insemination process. What do you mean by insemination? That the ejection or that ejection of the semen into the female genitalia or outside, that's called insemination, right? Once the penis will become erect, then only that ejection will take place. So this spongy tissue have that mechanism. When that proper blood circulation will be there, when the male will be excited, the penis will become erect and there will be more blood supply, so which will in turn lead to that insemination process. It will help for the insemination process very easily, right? And you can see that there will be a cone-shaped part or cone-shaped tip at the penis, and that's actually the area which we are naming it as glans penis, or it is the head of that penis area. And there is a special covering for this glans penis is there, which is called a foreskin. It's actually protecting that area from any of that bacterial or any other attack, or it's actually it's giving a covering or the protection for the glans penis area, right? So here we can say that simply we can conclude like this: penis is the external genitalia of a male reproductive system, right? And it is a copulatory organ which is actually helping for the sexual intercourse, right? And actually for the transfer of sperm into the female external genitalia, that is the vagina, right? And it's actually made up of some special spongy erectile tissue or muscular tissue, we can say that. What is the specialty of this? When that excitation will be there or the sexual urge will be there, automatically the blood will flow more into that penis area, and that spongy tissue will become erect, which will help for the insemination process, right? And the penis area, you can see that there will be a cone-shaped tip in that penis area, and that cone-shaped tip is called glans penis, and there is a protectional covering is there which is called the foreskin. So here we are finishing the parts of male reproductive system in detail. I have discussed the function and all the structure of the male reproductive system in detail. I hope you understand that. If you have any queries or any other doubts you're free to message to me. Is there anything? I will clear it later in the next class. Thank you.